The officer's body cam was still recording when the truth came back, even after she thought she deleted it. On the screen inside the police car, bright white text slowly appeared as a forensic software recovered hidden messages. One by one, they came back to life. You gave me no choice. I warned you. No one will find out. The room went quiet. Everyone stared at the screen. Then the final message showed up, sent just minutes before her husband vanished. I already fixed it. The officer slowly turned his head and looked at her. She stopped breathing for a second because she knew the messages she deleted were no longer gone. So how did a calm, quiet woman end up here, with her own words exposing everything? It started just a few days earlier on a normal street where nothing ever seemed to happen. The neighborhood was peaceful. Kids rode bikes. Neighbors waved at each other. Nothing felt dangerous. Lena Carter lived there with her husband, Daniel. From the outside, they looked like a perfect couple. Clean house, nice car, smiles whenever people were watching. But inside that house, things were different. They argued a lot. Not loud enough for neighbors to call the police, but enough to leave cracks in their life. Small things at first. Money, work stress, late nights. Then the arguments got worse. Daniel had started asking questions. He'd check her phone more often. He wanted to know where she went, who she talked to, why she kept stepping outside to take calls. And Lena didn't like that. One night, the argument went longer than usual. Voices raised, doors slammed, then suddenly, silence. The next morning, Daniel was gone. Lena told everyone the same story. He went out to cool off and never came back. She sounded worried, but not too worried, just enough. Days passed. No sign of Daniel. Then a neighbor called the police. Something didn't feel right. That's when Officer Ryan Mitchell arrived and turned on his body cam. At first, everything looked normal. Lena opened the door calmly. She even smiled. She spoke clearly. No shaking voice. No panic. She told the same story again. He left. I don't know where he went. The officer stepped inside. The house was clean. Too clean. No mess, no signs of struggle, but something felt off. He walked slowly through the living room. Everything was in place. Then he stepped into the kitchen. That's when he paused. Near the bottom of the cabinet, there was a faint stain. It was small, almost invisible, but the officer noticed. He leaned closer. Lena quickly spoke from behind him. "Oh, that's just old juice I spilled." Her voice came too fast, too ready. The officer didn't say anything. He just nodded. But now, he was paying closer attention. He asked if he could look around more. She agreed, still calm, still smiling. They walked upstairs. The bedroom was neat, the bed perfectly made, the closet organized. But something was missing. "Where's his phone?" the officer asked. Lena didn't hesitate. He took it with him. Another quick answer. Too quick. The officer looked around again. Then his radio crackled. Dispatch had new information. They had tracked Daniel's phone signal. The officer listened carefully. Then his face changed. Slowly, he lowered the radio and looked straight at Lena. "Ma'am, the phone signal is coming from inside this house." The smile on her face disappeared instantly. The air in the room changed right away. For a moment, nobody moved. Lena blinked fast, like her mind was trying to catch up. That doesn't make sense," she said softly, but her voice wasn't steady anymore. Officer Mitchell didn't argue. He didn't rush. He just nodded slowly and stepped deeper into the house. Now, every small thing mattered. Every corner, every sound, every look on her face. He walked past the kitchen again, then toward the hallway. At the end of it, a closed door. "Is that the basement?" he asked. Lena hesitated, just for a second. Then she forced a small smile. "Yes, just storage. Nothing important." The officer reached for the handle. It was locked. He turned back to her. "Can you open it, please?" Lena didn't move right away. Her fingers tightened slightly. Then she walked over slowly and unlocked the door. The hinges creaked as it opened. Dark stairs led down. Cold air came up from below. Officer Mitchell switched on his flashlight. "Stay up here," he said calmly. Then he started walking down. Each step echoed. Thump, thump, thump. The basement was quiet. Too quiet. Boxes lined the walls. Old furniture. Nothing unusual at first glance. But then, the officer noticed something on the floor. A section of concrete looked newer, smoother, like it had been worked on recently. He stepped closer, shined the light, and that's when he saw it. A small crack, running across the fresh surface. His radio buzzed again. Unit 12, do you need backup? The officer didn't answer right away. He kept staring at the floor. Then slowly he spoke. Yeah, send someone. Upstairs, Lena stood frozen, listening, waiting, her breathing getting faster. Down in the basement, the officer moved aside a nearby shelf. Then he tapped the concrete with his flashlight. It sounded different. Hollow. His face tightened. He stepped back, looked around, then walked upstairs again. Lena tried to smile when she saw him. Everything okay? She asked. The officer didn't smile back this time. Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to step outside. Her eyes widened. Why? He paused, just for a second, then said calmly, because we're gonna dig that floor up. The color drained from her face. Outside, more police cars arrived, lights flashing, neighbors watching from their windows. Lena stood near the curb, arms wrapped around herself, trying to stay calm, trying not to show anything, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Minutes later, an officer walked out of the house, holding something in a clear evidence bag. A phone, Daniel's phone. Lena's eyes locked onto it. Her breathing stopped again, because she knew that phone was never supposed to be found, and she knew exactly what was inside it. The moment she saw the phone, something inside her broke. Not on the outside. She still stood there, still breathing, still trying to look normal, but inside, everything was falling apart. Officer Mitchell watched her carefully. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to, because her eyes said enough. The phone was handed to another officer, placed gently into an evidence case, like it was fragile. But it wasn't fragile. It was dangerous, very dangerous, because even though the screen was black, it was still holding secrets. Lena knew that. That's why she had tried to get rid of it. That's why she thought it was gone forever. But now, it was back, and it was about to speak. She was taken to the station later that night. No handcuffs. Not yet. Just questions. Simple ones at first. Can you explain why the phone was in your house? I don't know, she said. Maybe you forgot it. Her answers came slower now, less confident. The calm version of her was fading. In another room, the phone was being examined. Charged, connected, scanned. A technician sat in front of a glowing screen, typing, waiting, watching. At first, nothing, just a blank message list. Empty, clean, too clean. The technician frowned. That's strange, he whispered. Then he started a deeper scan. One designed to recover deleted data. The screen flickered. Lines of code appeared. Then, a message. Faint, broken. But there. Why are you doing this? The technician sat up straight. More data loaded. Another message appeared. You're scaring me. Then another. Please stop. Back in the interrogation room, Lena sat very still. Her fingers pressed together tightly, trying to stay in control. A detective walked in slowly, sat across from her, placed a file on the table. He didn't open it yet. He just looked at her. We're going through the phone, he said calmly. Lena swallowed. Her throat felt dry. There's nothing on it, she replied quickly. Too quickly. The detective tilted his head slightly. Are you sure about that? She nodded, but her eyes dropped for a second. Just a second. And that was enough. In the lab, more messages were coming back. Faster now. Clearer. Stronger. You think I won't tell anyone? You already ruined everything. I'm done protecting you. The technician stared at the screen, then picked up the phone beside him. You need to see this, he said. Back in the room, the detective leaned forward. Lena, this is your chance to tell us what really happened. Silence. Heavy. Long. She didn't speak. She didn't move. But inside, the pressure was building. And then, The door opened suddenly. Another officer stepped in, whispered something into the detective's ear. The detective's face changed. Slowly, seriously, he turned back to Lena. And this time, his voice was different. We recovered the deleted text. Lena froze. Her eyes widened, just slightly, but enough. The detective slid the file across the table, opened it, turned it toward her, and there on the page were her own words. Clear, undeniable, impossible to take back. She stared at them. Her breathing got louder, faster, because she wasn't looking at messages anymore. She was looking at the moment everything fell apart. And then the detective pointed to the last line, the final message she sent, the one she thought no one would ever see. It's done. Lena's eyes stayed locked on those two words. It's done. The room felt smaller, quieter, like the walls were closing in on her. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Her lips moved, but no sound. The detective didn't rush her. He let the silence do the work. "Lena," he said gently, "what is done?" Her hand started shaking again. This time, she couldn't hide it. Tears began to form in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to go that far," she whispered. That was the first crack. Small but real. The detective leaned forward. What happened in that house? She looked down at the table, at her hands, at the truth she couldn't hold back anymore. "It was just an argument," she said softly. He kept pushing, asking questions, checking my phone. Her voice broke. I felt trapped. The detective stayed calm. "Then what?" She took a shaky breath. "We were in the kitchen. He grabbed my arm. I pushed him." Her words slowed, like she was reliving it. "He fell into the counter." She covered her face. I didn't think it would." She couldn't finish the sentence. The room went silent again. But this time it felt different, heavier, because now the truth was coming out. "After he fell, what did you do?" the detective asked. Lena lowered her hands, slowly. Her eyes were red now. "I checked him. He wasn't moving." Her voice dropped to almost nothing. I panicked, and then came the part she had tried so hard to erase. "I didn't call anyone." The detective's expression hardened slightly. "Why not?" She shook her head. "I was scared. I thought no one would believe me." Her breathing became uneven, so I tried to fix it. Those same words, the ones from the message, now spoken out loud. The detective didn't look away. "How did you fix it, Lena?" She closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I dragged him to the basement." Her voice trembled with every word. "I covered him, and later, I poured concrete over it." The confession sat in the air, cold, final, but something still didn't add up. The detective noticed. He tapped the file lightly. "These messages, they don't sound like panic." Lena froze again. "They sound planned." Her eyes opened slowly. Fear returned, sharp, immediate. The detective pointed to one line. "You gave me no choice." Then another. "I warned you." And then, "It's done." He leaned closer. "So I'm going to ask you again." His voice was steady. "But this time, I need the truth." The room went completely still. Was it really an accident? A long pause. Or did you plan this before it happened? Lena's breathing stopped for a moment. Her eyes shifted. Her mind raced. Because this question was the one she had been trying to avoid all along. Lena didn't answer right away. Her eyes moved from the table to the wall, then back to the file. Anywhere but the detective's face. The silence stretched. Long, heavy, uncomfortable. The detective didn't interrupt. He just watched her, waiting. Because now, this was the moment that mattered most. Finally, Lena took a slow breath. "I didn't plan everything," she said quietly. Not a denial. Not really. The detective caught it instantly. "Everything," he repeated. Her fingers tightened again. She had said too much. I just wanted him to stop," she added quickly. But it sounded weaker now, less convincing. The detective opened the file again, turned one more page. "There's another message," he said. He slid it toward her. Her eyes dropped to it, and her face changed. Because this one, she remembered clearly. I can't keep living like this. Timestamp. Hours before the argument, the detective spoke softly. You sent that before anything happened. Lena swallowed hard. That doesn't mean. He cut in gently. And this one, another page. I'll handle it tonight. Her breathing stopped. That message, she had forgotten about that one. Or maybe she hoped it would never come back. The detective leaned back slightly. Those aren't panic messages, Lena. He let the words settle. Those are decisions. The room felt colder now, sharper, like the truth was finally taking shape. Lena's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they weren't just fear. They were something else. Realization that the story she had been telling was no longer holding together. I didn't know what happened like that, she said, almost pleading. I didn't plan all of it. Her voice cracked again. I just knew something had to change. The detective nodded slowly. And you decided what that change would be. She didn't answer. She didn't need to, because the silence said it for her. In the other room, officers were still working, preparing to dig deeper into the basement. The concrete had already been broken, but now they were uncovering what was beneath it, carefully, slowly, every movement controlled. Because this wasn't just evidence anymore. This was a life. Back in the interrogation room, Lena sat still. No more excuses. No more quick answers. Just the weight of everything she had done. The detective closed the file. We're gonna finish this, he said calmly. Lena nodded faintly, like she already knew where this was going. Knew there was no way out anymore. Hours later, the door opened again. An officer stepped in, his expression serious. He looked at the detective, then at Lena, and said quietly, "We found him." The words hit harder than anything before. Lena's face went pale. Her body stiffened. Because until that moment, there was still a tiny part of her holding on to something, some small piece of denial. But now, there was nothing left to hold on to. The truth was no longer hidden. It was out, fully, permanently. The detective stood up slowly. "Lena Carter," he said, his voice steady, "you are under arrest." He paused for a second, then finished the sentence. For the murder of Daniel Carter. The sound of the words filled the room. Final, unchangeable. As officers stepped forward, Lena didn't resist. She didn't speak. She didn't cry out. She just sat there, staring at the table, at the place where her own words had exposed her. Because in the end, it wasn't the basement. It wasn't the concrete. It wasn't even the body. It was the messages she thought were gone. That told the real story. And once they came back, there was nowhere left to hide. The next morning, the Bodycam footage was played again. Not in the house this time. Not in the dark basement. But in a quiet room inside the station. Every second of it. From the moment Officer Mitchell knocked on the door to the moment Lena's smile disappeared. Investigators watched closely, paused, rewound, played it again, because now they weren't just looking, they were understanding. At the start of the video, Lena looked calm, too calm, her voice steady, her answers quick, almost practiced, but the more they watched, the more the cracks appeared. A pause that lasted too long, a glance toward the basement door, a breath that came just a little too fast. Small things, easy to miss the first time, but now impossible to ignore. The detective leaned forward, paused it right there. The screen froze. Lena standing at the door, smiling, but her eyes weren't smiling. They looked tense, tired, like she had been carrying something heavy for too long. Zoom in, he said. The image got closer, clearer, and then someone noticed it. A faint mark on her sleeve. Dark, small, but there. Go back a few seconds. They replayed it, slower this time, frame by frame. As she opened the door, her hand moved slightly, and for just a moment, the light caught it, a thin line along her wrist. The room went quiet, because now the story was getting sharper. Not just what she said, but what she showed without knowing. Later that day, officers returned to the house. This time, not just to search, but to collect everything. Photos, clothes, tools, anything that could tell the full story. The kitchen was sealed off, the basement taped, the entire house silent, like it was holding on to what happened inside. One officer opened a drawer. Inside, cleaning supplies, gloves, cloths, a bottle with a strong smell. Another officer checked the trash. Nothing. Too clean. Everything had been carefully handled, but not perfectly, because under the sink, behind a pipe, they found something small, almost hidden. A broken piece of phone case, black, cracked, the same model Daniel used. Back at the station, it was placed next to the phone. It matched perfectly. Another piece of the puzzle. Another mistake she didn't know she made. In the interrogation room, Lena sat quietly. No more questions now. Just waiting. The kind of waiting that feels endless. A clock ticked on the wall. Slow. Loud. Every second stretching longer than the last. Finally, the door opened again. But this time, it wasn't just one person. Two officers stepped in. Serious, focused. One of them held a folder, thicker than before. He placed it gently on the table, opened it. Inside, photos from the basement, the broken concrete, the hidden space, everything. He turned the folder toward her. Lena looked down, and for the first time, she looked away quickly, like she couldn't face it. But the officer didn't close the folder. He kept it there, in front of her. "Lena," he said softly. "This is everything." Her breathing slowed, almost like she had given up fighting, given up holding on. Then she whispered something, so quiet they almost didn't hear it. "I thought I could fix it." The same words. Again, but now they sounded different. Not like a plan, not like control, just regret. Heavy, deep. The officer nodded slightly. "But you couldn't," he said. Silence filled the room again. Not tense this time. Just final. Outside, the sun was going down, the day ending. But for Lena, everything was just beginning, because what came next was something she couldn't delete, couldn't undo, couldn't escape. The trial, and the moment when her own words would be played out loud for everyone to hear.